Welcome everybody that's here.
Yeah. Welcome, hey everybody.
We're a little unorganized, but we'll get there. We'll get there.
Yeah, we're definitely glad. Like Elaine usually does the kickoff, but she's having trouble with her computer getting in. So welcome everybody here. So to tell you a little bit about how this is going to work, you see us on the screen here. Erica is going to be manning the chat box the whole time. So if you have questions about anything that we say, she will be answering those in live time from anything that you have questions about. And if there's something that she needs to know, then she'll interrupt and at some point she'll say the question loud. That way we can make sure that it's being said aloud if it's something that's for the benefit of the entire group. Last year we did this for three different for each classification, but we're glad that we're able to do this, and hopefully one time this is, I think, being recorded. Is that right? Are we recording this so that if there's anybody that you know that is not able to join in, they'll be able to watch this a little bit later. It'll be posted so that they can see everything. So we're having the meeting to go over the scales for the year. I know that the vast majority of you, ladies and gentlemen, are experienced coaches, but we do have some brand new coaches that are in there. So we may be reviewing some things that you've heard before, or be going over part of the scales that you know pretty well. But we're going to go at this like everybody in the room is a new coach, so that we can start at the beginning and kind of go from there. If we're going too fast at any point, like I said, post a question and we will go through. We're going to go through a section at a time from the score sheet. A different person will be talking about each of the different sections that are in there, and then I guess we'll open it up if there's anything else that we need to add at that point. So, Cami, we'll let you start off with Stunts.
Okay, so coaches, if you're a former coach, just to kind of throw it out there are minimal changes. So I'll kind of run through the changes super fast, and then we'll slow down for the new coaches. So former coaches, there's basically zero changes. If you look in partner stunt, the only change in partner stunt is in that intermediate range, 3 to 6. We have changed the number of stunt groups. In the past, it was 4 or more, and now it's going to be 3 or more. That's it. That's the only change in stunts. There is no change in tumbling. We were hoping to get tosses, or some of us were hoping to get tosses put back in there. That did not happen. It was turned down by powers above us. So tosses are still out. So that's not a change. There's no tosses being put back in. That's the same as the past. When you look at pyramid, there is a slight change in pyramid. Again, it's to the intermediate range. It's not to any other range, just that 3 to 6. There is a change in there in what you can do as your entry. In the past, it was allowed for inverted entries to go to below top level. It was allowed to go to prep level or below as an entry. That has been taken out. So all your entries in pyramid will have to go to extended level. That's it. That's the only big changes as far as the actual scales, and those aren't even really that big. There's a couple of things that are going to be added. We can talk about that as just a smidgen, but we're not going to talk about it a lot. When it comes to your difficulty categories, we are going to add in 0.5s. So when you start getting your score sheets, it's not something that we are requiring all judges to give a 1.5, 2.5, 3.5, 4. But those are now allowable. So if a judge wants to give a 7.5 or an 8.5 in the difficulty category only for every single one of them, then that's going to be possible. So when you look at your primary stunt, your secondary stunt, your tumbling, any category that has difficulty can now be a 0.5 put on the score sheet. We are not doing that in execution. We have enough range in execution to be marking those appropriately. Does anyone have that? That's it. Those are our only changes. So intermediate range can be 3 or more stunt groups. Pyramid, intermediate range, the entries now have to go to extended level, and we are going to add 0.5s in the difficulty categories. They're allowable. Any questions? Everybody good there? Okay, so all the former coaches, that's it. New coaches, let me slow down a smidgen because we have a lot of new coaches. If you look at the scales, the first thing you're going to see is partner stunts and secondary stunts. You'll see it's divided into 3 categories. So you'll hear me make reference to more of a basic category, which is going to be that bottom, your intermediate category or range, which is going to be in your middle, and your advanced range is going to be more to the right. If we work through from left to right, which is not my norm, but if we work left to right, that 1 to 2 stunt group, you can see underneath it, it tells you how many stunt groups you have to have, and it lists those requirements. So if you see underneath it, it'll say you have to have a basic entry and it has to be prep level or below, and then it's a 2-legged skill. So anywhere in those categories, what's listed below is what's required to get into that range. Understand everything from then on, what you do to it. If you add to it, you make it more difficult, then that's going to bring you up higher into that range. So if you look at your intermediate range, it'll give you your list of exactly what's required. So you'll see you have that intermediate entry. You have that 2 extended 1-legged intermediate by skills, intermediate. Those are your requirements to get into that range. If you look at the very bottom of the page, it gives you some examples. These are not what you're required to do. These are only examples. Sometimes coaches will say, hey, well, what can we do? Yes, you can go above and beyond this. You can get as creative as you want. Highest range, that's your 7 to 10. Understand is unassisted. So if you put 5 groups there and you have a front spot, you're automatically dropped to that intermediate range. They have to be unassisted. You can't have that front spot. I'm going kind of fast. Execution. I've got all kinds of things. Do I need to stop? Elaine, you want to jump in? Is that why you're telling me? No? Okay, I can wait. You're muted, so I can't hear you.
I'll speak when you finish.
Okay. All right, so if you go to execution, we took out, for some reason, it was still left in there that it was based on ranges for execution. There's absolutely no need for that. You'll know your execution comes from 1 to 10. You'll see all the wording there and just know based on that wording, that's how you're going to be scored in execution. Body alignment, form, synchronization, technique, all that matters. When you look at secondary stunt, it's a smaller category, so you're going to have less requirements. If you lose me, it's because there's a really bad storm here. So if I lose internet, you guys, you just take over and I can fill back in, or you can take over for me because we've got lightning and everything right now. Secondary stunt is the same thing. And like I said, it's a smaller range, 1 to 5, because it's less requirements. It does that same thing. It goes basic, intermediate, advanced. You can see what's listed as your requirements at the bottom. That's the requirements to get into that range. You can be as creative as you want to move up into that range. Secondary execution is the same. If you look at the bottom, you can see the things that are listed. There's your entries and your transitions. I'm going really fast.
Can you guys hear?
Must be one of the storm things because we can't hear Kate anymore.
Okay. We'll come back to Cammie. How's that?
Okay.
All right.
Elaine, why don't you go ahead, Elaine, since you didn't get a chance to greet everybody. We kind of greeted on your behalf, but they want to hear from you too, for sure.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
What happened to my computer? I have a Mac and sometimes it wants to be stupid. So I just want to welcome all of the coaches to our webinar on our skills and our score sheet. Amy could not be with us today, so she asked me to be sure and welcome everyone from the high school league. We have, as you see, our panelists. We have 5 panelists who were with us last year and the year before, and that's Cammie Appleton, Erica Bryant, Quinn Clark, Cole Scoggins, and David Schofield. And they really have done an excellent job working on things and getting things prepared for you so that you can understand what we're doing in our state with our skills and our score sheet. New coaches, please understand that if you don't get it all right here today, that's okay. This will be on the high school league website as a video, and it will be listed under rewind, R-E-W-I-N-D, like you're rewinding something. The videos go through that. So if you cannot get, or you have questions and you want to look at something again, just go to the league website next week. Don't go Monday. Give Keith a chance to put it on, and you can watch it. Okay. If you still have questions, then you should email Amy Boozer, And her email is amy@SCHSL, South Carolina High School League. The initials for, it's right here on the board, SCHSL.org. amy@SCHSL.org. And she will direct you to the correct panelist to get any questions you might have. And I hope everyone has a scales and score sheet with you. I don't know, is that covered already, David? No.
No, I don't think that the new ones, I don't believe have been posted yet.
They were supposed to have been posted last night, but they may not be up there yet. And so you all can go on and you can get them next week if they're not up there yet. So take good notes on this webinar. And remember, you can go to the league website and you can get rewind and see this all over again. Now, I have one thing to say that I think the 2A coaches may be interested in. We do not have a complete answer yet, but I talked with Amy this morning, and it is possible we may have a 2A division this year, but we will not know until the committee meets in September. And this is the first year in a long time we have had what we feel like is enough teams involved that we should be able to get a 2A division, which would be 1A and 2A together. So I am not saying, hear me? I am not saying that we have a 2A division. I am just saying some of you have asked me already. And so I asked Amy and she said, we will definitely know in September. So let's keep our fingers crossed that this happens. I think it will be a wonderful thing for South Carolina cheer if we can go back to that. And of course, we will let you know as soon as that committee meets what's going on. Okay. And the rules books will be out in June. So don't worry about too much about getting things confirmed with me right now. I will do the best I can to help you, but as you know, as the rules interpreter, I can't give you a legal or not legal until after I get the book. Okay. And the rules meeting will be at the summer clinic. I also wanted to make sure I tell you that. That is for right now, all I need to say. Welcome to everybody. And I'm going to turn it back over to Cammie.
If Cammie can't get through, before we get started, there are a couple of people that did post the link in the chat box to the new scales. So if you don't have those pulled up to follow along, you look at the chat box. There's one or two coaches that posted that link in there. So you can click on that and you can follow along with us as we go through those today.
Good. Can we hear Cammie?
Can you hear me?
Yes. Okay, you can. Thank you for giving me a chance to speak. Appreciate it.
Of course. I don't know anything about dismounts. You got all that, Erica? It's popping on my.
Yep.
On the scales last year. Yep. Okay, you're getting all that. All right, are we good? Is there anything I need to cover for anyone? Do I need to slow down and repeat? Do I need to say anything again? Make sure you watch your full ups. The same rule as last year. Only one person can make that half turn. Everyone else has got to make less than that. Okay. Can we go into detail about there's no dismounts? Lots of people are asking about dismounts. There's no dismounts. Remember, we took that out last year. No dismounts, no required dismounts. How will they be scored? Will they be scored the same? But there's no category for the dismount. So there's the category itself includes the entire stunt sequence. I guess what I'm trying to say is there's no specific place for us just to score your dismount. So no, your dismounts will not be compared. Your entire stunt sequence is what's being compared. And if you do the exact same stunt sequence as someone else, which is probably very not likely, and the only difference between you is the dismount, then that's going to be compared to what other people are doing. Like we don't even compare one team to the other. Does that make sense? It's a whole lump of comparison. So don't focus so much on those dismounts. We took them out, so to have less injury is what we're doing, and to have less requirements in your routine. We feel like there's so much that's required of you already. Is there anything else? Are we good with that person, Erica? Is she good? Is there anything else to address?
I think it's just a question on, like, you know, the creativity of the stunt. I mean, there's still a lot of coaches that put dismounts in their stunt sequence, but it's not necessarily going to be given a score. So when we're looking at, you know, moving people within range, not giving any kind of scenarios or how people score, because Cammie and I and Cole and Erica and Gwen, we have very different ideas. I won't say very different, but we have different ideas of how things should score creativity wise. And so, but I don't think that anybody is necessarily saying, hey, they did a dismount, so they're going to get an extra point. It's not like that. I mean, we're looking at the whole scale of the stunt, and first finding what range that it fits into, and then within that range, if there's anything creative wise that team is doing that's different, they may move up within that range. But it's first finding the range that they're going to be set for, and no dismounts are required for any of the ranges. So that's not going to have any bearing on putting you in a range for that. Maybe that answered that. I don't know.
I hope so, because the question just popped up about entry. Like, we're being asked, does this score the same as this? So please listen to what David's saying. Like, we can't tell you what this is going to score. All we can tell you is this is what's required to get into that range. So when you ask me about entry, now you're looking at, yes, does a switch up, a full up, that bare minimum requirement, that's what's going to get you into the range. Can I answer, are they going to score the same? I can't answer that question because I don't know the rest of your stunt sequence. It's the entire sequence that's going to get you your total score. It's not one aspect of your sequence that, in other words, your entry doesn't get a score, your transition doesn't get a score, your body positions don't get a score. It's not like there's a category where all that's added up and you can see that. That is something that we do within that category itself, within our head. The whole sequence itself is going to get one score. I hope that makes sense.
Cammie, can I remind the coaches of something? Can y'all hear me? Okay, coaches, please remember, you don't come off mute to ask questions. You can't. This is a webinar. You can type your questions in. Now, you may get your question answered by one of the 5 panelists when it's just to you. If it's something the panelists feel that everyone needs to hear, they will address it as they're speaking. So I just wanted to remind everybody, because I was told that some people are trying to come off mute to ask a question. So you cannot come off mute, but you can type it in the chat box. You'll be answered. Erica is doing most of the answering. I know Cole just did one, typed one in, but if it is something everybody needs to hear, then it will be given to that particular panelist and they will answer it. Otherwise, you will get your answer. Okay, thank you.
Okay, so again, I'm addressing more of the new coaches. New coaches, are you good? Because that's a big category. Okay, let me know if you have questions. Peace out. All right, David. Pyramid.
Yeah, pyramid. And you know, before we even do, I guess, the pyramid, we're going to talk a little bit with the execution that she talked. That is a little bit of a change this year. If you look at the execution, guys, you know, standard at a competition, we have 3 panel judges and we have a safety judge. This year, we are going to have an additional judge that is going to be doing deductions. Deductions is going to basically the fall out of a stunt, fall out of a pyramid, tumbling fall, those type things. If you've got somebody on the floor that is not jumping, those things that go into a lot of the all-star competitions, they have a separate deductions judge. And so when you look at the execution of skills for stunts, for tumbling, for pyramids, for those type things, we're literally looking at the things that are in the air and the things that are staying up. If a stunt falls, The panel judges are not looking at those girls anymore. That's going to fall directly to the deductions judge. That's the one where it's going to be taken off. But there's a major bobble in the air, if there is a timing issue as far as the stunts, those things are going to be the ones that go into the execution of stunt, not just stunts, but pyramids and tumbling, those type things like that. So no more. And the reason that we talked about, the reason that we did this is because well, we wanted to give more of a chance. It was like 1 and 2 falls was really killing the routine, and we wanted to make it a little bit more fair as far as that, so we could actually see the body of the skills of what they're doing, the girls are doing in the air when they're there, and then also for the tumbling as well. You know, how the tumbling skills being executed. I'm not going to go into that. Cole will go into that a little bit more, but that's why we've taken the deductions and pulled that out to the side, so we can really look at what the skills are that are being done in the air, as opposed to just who's falling. You know, it used to be that if you know you had 3 stunts that fell out of the air, you were scoring pretty low, 2s and 3s across on execution. Well, now the panel is going to be looking more at the skills that are staying in the air, while the deductions is going to take off. That sheet will be soon posted to the website as well, so that they'll know. So you'll know exactly what those deductions will be for those skills. With that, if you have questions about that, I could answer that along too. So I'm going to go into the pyramid. Cami went into the changes already as far as the pyramid was concerned, which was very minimal. It was just the entry that it needed to be all the way to the top. Before, we didn't have the inversion that needed to be to the top. We've taken that out. So the whole, in order for this to be scored in the high range or even in the mid range, that the entry needs to be all the way to extended, all the way to extended. So it breaks it down in 3 different ranges. There's a high range, mid range, and low range, just like there was for stunts. Your high range is basically reserved for having 2 or more people extended. You got the advanced entry, you've got 3 one-legged extended structures, and you've got 3 advanced transitions. That's the minimum. That is the minimum to get into the high group. So if you have 2 high flyers and all you do is the advanced entry to extended, 3 one-legged extended structures, and 3 advanced transitions, and that is all you do, then you've gotten into the high range. You won't move much within the range, obviously, because you've just set the minimum bar for that. So pyramids is where a lot of your creativity comes in. We see a lot of amazing pyramids that go on throughout the year with different things that you're doing. If you've got girls coming up and popping up in different places and doing things, and the transitions are getting harder and harder with that. But that is the minimum to get into the high range. The mid range is for 1 or more top persons extended. Again, now if you have 2 people, if you've got 2 high flyers, but say you only do 2 advanced transitions instead of 3 advanced transitions, you can still score in the mid range. That doesn't mean that you have to go into the high range just by having 2 high flyers. You've got to have 2 high flyers plus all the other things that are required for the high range. Mid range, 1 high flyer or more high flyers. Intermediate entry into extended, still again has to go to extended. 2 one-legged extended structures, 2 intermediate transitions, and then like I said earlier, anything that doesn't quite meet the high range can fall into the mid range from there. Your 1 to 2, your low range is basically you're doing things at prep level and below. Your entry, your structures, your things like that. So no changes really, except for the fact that all entries need to go to extended this year. That's the only really change that there is in pyramids. The rest, the ones that you've been looking at, the ones you've been building off of, they're going to fall in the same places. Again, with difficulty, just like Kimmy said earlier with the stunts, we are looking at doing half points within those ranges to kind of give some separation, possibly for some teams for things. Because sometimes you look at it, and you're like, you know, it's better than an 8, but it's not really a 9. And so where do we kind of need to put that? Well, we've been given the okay to give 8.5, you know, or 7.5 or whatever, just for the difficulty for the pyramids for those. Okay, and then on the scales, you've got examples Those aren't the only examples, but those are some examples of basic, intermediate, and advanced skills that go in those ranges. Sorry, let me switch back to full screen. Any questions? I see one. That is a good question there. If a group falls and doesn't perform some of the skills, will the difficulty change? We take into account the fact that if you're putting a pyramid up or stunt group up and you're starting the stunt, we pretty much look at it to think, okay, if they're trying this, then they're trying to actually execute those skills for things. Now, if we go, so 6 weeks in a row and the same skills follow, the same stunt groups follow the exact same time every single week, then we're not quite sure if they can do those skills or not. But we have to assume that the skills that are not being done, from a stunt group that falls would have been done if the stunt group had just stayed in the air. Now, the difference to that is this: if every stunt group falls, we can't assume anything. Or if an entire pyramid collapses, we don't know what goes on because we only judge what is being done on that particular day. So, Team A, John High School, may have had an amazing pyramid last week that got eight and a halves. But this week, the pyramid never got off the ground. Well, if the pyramid never gets off the ground, then we have to score what we see. And so regardless of what they've done last week, we have to score what we see in that particular competition on that particular day. And if they're not getting off the ground and nothing is done and there's no skills in the air, then we have to score it in the right range based on what we see. Same thing if you have a pyramid and one of the top girls, y'all know it happens in practice, it happens all the time. One of the top girls, one of your high flyers, doesn't quite make it, or she does half the skills and then she falls out of the air and she stays on the ground. We're watching the other girl that's staying in the air. And if you started with two, we're assuming that the other girl would have done the exact same thing as that one. The deductions judge will hit the team with deductions based on falling out of the pyramid, but we have to assume as a panel that they would have done the exact same skills. Okay, I hope that answered that question. I just came back to that part. Does anybody have anything else?
There's a question about an explanation of leapfrog variations.
But what do you mean by that? Like legality wise, like what's legal? Are you asking I don't know what that means. Like, are you asking feet overhead as long as the hands are still connected? Are you asking like a normal leapfrog where you jump through the arms? I'm not sure what that question's asking.
Yeah, Cammie, let me say, if you all are asking about safety, please don't ask it here today. Contact me and I will talk to you about any safety rules. Today is only for scales and score sheet interpretations. All right. Safety is covered by me and I'll answer whenever you ask me. Just text.
Elaine, will you put your email in the chat box, Elaine, so that if they do have a question about that, they can just email me?
Sure. Yeah, I'll do that. Right. How do I do that? I'll do that.
Okay. Anybody else on the panel have anything else to add to pyramids? Okay, great.
There's an additional question. We aren't sure what kinds of leapfrogs count. And Elaine, I'll put your email in the chat. I'll put it in there.
Okay, she'll do that, and Elaine will get in touch with her, and she'll be able to answer that part. So, Cole, we'll turn it over to you for tumbling.
Awesome. Well, this should be pretty short and sweet because, like Cammie said, there are no changes in the tumbling section from last year to this year. I'm just going to sort of point out for any new coaches some differences because this is the one part of the category where sub-varsity and varsity do differ a bit. But I'll just start from the very beginning in that there are two tumbling sections on the score sheet. You've got your standing tumbling section, you've got your running tumbling section. The only way you'll score 0 is if you do not throw at least one skill in each one of those categories. As long as you throw at least one standing tumbling skill and at least one running tumbling skill, you will score at least a 1 in each one of those categories, no matter whether you're varsity or sub-varsity. The key differences between those two categories in sub-varsity and varsity is the percentages or numbers of skills performed, number of athletes performing skills rather. And the key number with sub-varsity is going to be 25%. That's 25% of allowable numbers, which is going to be 24. So your magic number is 6. You'll, as long as in each the intermediate and the advanced category, you have at least that number of tumblers that perform the skill. Now I'll address repeaters in just a second and how we view that. With your varsity scales, that your number is going to be 13. You're going to need to have at least 13 tumblers in the the intermediate and the advanced category in order to move up within those ranges. The way that we handle repeaters, obviously there's a lot of tumbling that's happening all at once. You have group tumbling, you have cross tumbling and everything like that. Repeaters do not count. If we see the same 6 athletes performing the same skill twice in a routine, that still will count as 6 of those skills. In most cases. So if there are 6 standing back handsprings at one point and those same 6 athletes perform a back handspring again immediately after that, that will not count as 12 back handsprings. That would count as 6 back handsprings since it is repeat athletes. With other running tumbling skills, if you have an athlete that performs, an intermediate skill at one point in the range and then an advanced skill in the same either standing or running category again later in the range, that could potentially move you up based on the numbers of tumbling skills that you're throwing. But if you're performing the same category difficulty of skills with the same athletes, repeaters are not accounted for. It's not cumulative. It's the number of skills that you're performing with the number of athletes. I think that's the most key things to point out with tumbling. There, obviously, like David mentioned, there's going to be a deduction sheet this year that's added in. So for the execution portion, your tumbling bust and things like that will be accounted for on that deduction sheet. So with execution, we're obviously looking for purely how the skills are performed, your synchronization, your body alignment, everything like that. And any deductions in regards to bust and things like that will be accounted for on the deduction sheet. Pretty quick.
Okay, if everybody's good with that. Gwen?
Yeah, we'll kick it over to Gwen, who's going to handle jumps and the rest of the bottom of the score sheet.
Okay, guys, so glad to have you with us today. As stated earlier, the part was taken out, the phrasing was taken out that if not all members jumped, you score in the lower range. That is now something that's going to be handled by the deductions judge. So it's basically the same as it's been last year. Your points come, your highest number of points are coming if you do 3 different connected jumps, and that's full squad. And if you choose to just do full squad 1 jump, that's going to put you on the lower end of the range, and that's a 1 through 5 point category.
All right, Gwen, wait a minute. Is anybody else having problems hearing Gwen? She's going in and out.
Oh, okay.
Maybe you're not close enough to your speaker.
Well,
Not
let me just talk a little louder.
Okay.
A little louder.
Okay.
The phrasing, again, welcome. The phrasing is that we've taken out if the entire team does not jump, you're scoring the lower range. But now that's being handled by the deductions judge. So now the max number of points gets you 3 different jumps that are connected. That gets you 5 points. And in the 1 point category, if you choose to have 1 team jump, that gets you the lowest number of points. And that's in your difficulty and your execution. We're still looking for your technique, your flexibility, the landings, how synchronized you are, your arm positions, and if you have any obvious mistakes for jump execution. And for the dance difficulty, basically the same thing as last year. You get up to 5 points, and the advanced skills are the skills with the most creativity, the advanced creativity, movement, pace, transitions, and level changes and footwork. We like to see a lot of that. There have been some really cute and creative dances over the last couple of years. Just keep that going. But again, we're looking for the execution, the spacing, the technique, synchronization, your energy, how confident you are. That's the part of the score sheet that you can let loose, you can just shine. If you choose to do that on that part. And also with the overall composition, it's up to a 10-point scale, and we're looking for your transitions, your formations, the pace and the energy, the showmanship, your creativity, your routine layout. That's the part that usually just makes me feel good, just to watch you showcase from start to finish of your routine. And I just kind of like to see that. Like David said, everybody has their differences when it comes to what they like to see, but showmanship's big here, your energy and the confidence that you show when you are performing your routine. Any questions? Can you hear me better? Okay.
Okay. Now, I think all of the panelists have spoken, correct?
Yeah, I wanted to address one question that I saw pop up. It asked about the deductions. That is something that is taken off at the very end of the score. So all three panelists add their scores together, and it's kind of like safety, where safety is taken off at the end of the routine. The deductions is taken off at the end of the routine as well. So it's not necessarily a 5 points per judge or anything like that. It's just a score that's taken off at the very end of the routine.
Also, David, let me say that out of bounds is still being done by the safety judge, and it still follows the same number of points as we have always done, and that's in the chair manual. That will not be on the deduction sheet. Correct. Okay. All right. Well, if all of the panelists, you all are finished, right? Thank you. Thank you very much for all of your hard work that you've done and taking time today to help present this so that our coaches can start getting things ready. We can have a good season this year. Looking forward to our season. Hopefully we will be closer to normalcy than we have been in the past. I know that COVID threw us for a loop, and we've had a lot of problems with scheduling and timing and all, but I really think that if it stays the way it is, maybe this year we can get our timing together. Now, I do want to give you one other thing. If you are hosting a competition this year, May, now it is May, you can send in your request for your competition. If you sent your request in March or February or April, they did not approve it because you were told last summer at the clinic that you had to wait until May to send it in. Some people went ahead and sent it in early, and then you were concerned that you had not heard back. Well, that's why. But they will be approving them now in May. So go ahead and get them in. Okay. I do want to say Debbie Rogers has gone back to the first Saturday in November. Yay, everybody clap for that one.
I was about to ask you to mention that.
Yes, we're so excited.
November 5th.
Yeah, and so anybody that wants October 29th, we don't want it. We've got ours right where we want it for all of you right before qualifiers start. And I know most of you will be happy to hear us say that. Okay, so just know that get your things in for your request for your tournament, and at summer clinic, and this is very important, and I will be sending an email to those who normally host. I am having a session, and it is only for those people who are hosting a tournament. And I really expect you to be there because we have had some problems with people not following the requirements for hosting a tournament, and it is causing major problems with judges. It is causing major problems with other teams. I need to know things, and I have a set form that I send to each of you. And when I ask for something at a certain time, it's not because I just want to see it, it's because I need it. So All of this will be covered in that session. That session will run, Gwen, beside which session? Do you remember? I don't. But,
I think it's 9.
okay, but it will run consecutive with another session so that the head coach who is having a tournament, who is hosting a tournament, I expect you to attend my session, send your assistant to the other session so they can get the notes for you. But I really need everybody there. I really need for you to sit and listen to why I need what I ask for. And we have some changes in judges' pay and different things that are going on this year. So it's going to be important that you come to this meeting with me. Okay, you guys? And that will be on Wednesday of our summer clinic. All right.
Elaine, there are some questions that are more related to COVID changes that we made.
Okay.
Are athletes allowed to say a cheer prior to the beginning of the routine and count out loud? And will teams be able to stay for awards, or that be up to the host school?
All right. The one about the awards, that is something that Amy will make a decision on as we get closer to our season. I was talking to Coach yesterday, and we have noticed that all of a sudden COVID cases are tripling in New England, and we're hoping they keep it up there and don't send it down here to us so that we can get more to our normal way of doing things. But I can't tell you that about the awards until we get very close to it, because if something pops up, that may have to stay. All right. What was the other thing?
Are athletes allowed to say a cheer prior at the beginning of the routine, and are they allowed to count out loud?
All right, no, they won't be counting out loud, but they can do the set. Yeah, I think that's what they're asking me, because we've had problems with that and had to limit it to one. We're hoping that we'll just let you do your normal set. And of course, that may change by the time we get to September. COVID rears its head and we don't know what's going to happen. I might have to let you know, we can't do that. But hopefully we can do that. We're not cheering in the routine, but that first setup, I think, is what they were asking about. And I think that can go back to normal. But I will let you know a lot of that at the host session this summer. And then if it changes, of course, if COVID makes us change it, then we'll have to. There's not anything we can do about COVID except
Correct.
to
It's
get
9
away.
a.m.
Yeah. So
It's the 9 o'clock session, Elaine.
the 9 o'clock session. Okay. That's when the host session is, opposite
Round table.
round table. So that will be good. I think I asked to be opposite round table so that you could send someone in who works with you, and then you could be at the hosting session. It's just really important that you be there. And also, one other announcement: all head varsity competitive coaches, listen, it is a requirement as of this year that you be safety certified. That is from the high school league. All head varsity competitive coaches. I think it was on the memo that I sent to everyone from Amy, but just so that you know, you can go to NFHS Learn, and it is listed there. ACA is no longer a separate entity. ACA merged with USA Cheer. USA Cheer came together with the National Federation of High Schools, and that safety certification comes through the National Federation. So if you're not safety certified, go to NFHS Learn and get safety certified, because it is required and you will receive a fine if you do not get safety certified. It's like not taking the courses they ask you to take and not attending a rules meeting. It's the same type of thing. Okay. I'm excited about it because I think everybody should be safety certified. So you guys get in there and renew your safety certification. If you don't know, get in touch with me. I do still have a link where I can check on whether or not your certification runs out this year or not, or has already run out. Okay. And use that same email. Or you can use my cell phone, which is 803-606-0728, and just text me. So thank you all for being here today. This is the end of our session. The panelists, we will stay on until all of the coaches are able to get off.
Elaine, there's a question about the reason for removing tosses. I don't know if you want to address that, or if you
Oh,
want to.
I can. There was a survey done and there was a very large percentage of our coaches who did not want to have the tosses, and that was why they were taken out. It was at least 2/3 of the judges. I don't remember the total number, but that's why they were.
2/3 of the coaches.
Whatever, you know. Those
And-
responded, it was like 75%. I'm just not sure total number. I can't quote it off the top of my head, but because it was such a large number, you know, they were taken out. Yes, ma'am. And what's another?
Is the summer clinic the one in July?
Yes, yes. And that date is, it's that Wednesday. I think it's the 27th. That cheer, whatever that Wednesday is, 27th of July or the 28th. Yeah, it's the 27th. Thank you. Somebody just clicked it up there for me. So that's when it will be. Your rules meeting will be then also. All right, everybody, this is it. Any other questions, get in touch with me individually or get in touch with Amy at the South Carolina High School League, and everybody